And some will say that Steve Sarkeesian does this too, plays not to lose. I disagree with that. Look, I have no problem with the Longhorns after dominating for 3 quarters and building a 34-10 lead to going into more of a prevent defense and kind of calling off the dogs a little bit that had gotten them there. But you also have to execute the prevent defense. If you're going to go into that, you have to be able to execute that and not blow coverages.
Right.
If you think about, so the combination of injuries in the secondary, in my opinion, lack of execution in the secondary, and then officiating calls that were at best bizarre, led to this improbable 21-0 run. On the Diego Pavia 25-yard touchdown run out the right side, there was a blatant hold on the right end.
Yeah.
And then there was a play. Go back and watch that play. And a lineman for Vanderbilt completely runs and tackles a chasing Longhorn defensive lineman who's trying to chase Diego Pavia out the gate as he got out around the corner and ran to the end zone untouched. He tackled him, like from behind.
Right.
Like he comes up behind and tackles. I couldn't even see the number. And I'm like, what are we doing? Like the whole fourth quarter, there was, and you folks know me, if you listen to me on radio for 25 years, I don't come in and complain about the officials very often.
No.
That was curious, to say the least.
In this conversation in general, usually never try to keep that. There's some bad officiating, but that was blatant,
ridiculous.
like you said. What was going on?
And Sark actually said in the postgame news conference we'll hear from coming up, I kind of got outside myself. I was so mad.
Right.
Because it just felt like, you don't, on the first touchdown of the second half, he gets out the gate and you have a blatant hold and a tackle that don't get called and he scores. Okay, now it's 34-16, no big deal. Texas is going to come right back down, and you throw a touchdown pass to Emmett Mosley in the end zone that he blatantly gets held and nothing is called. They review it for did he catch it or not, and you're like, wait a second, that's it. But you're still up 34-16, no big deal. Then you blow a coverage. And then there was the 2 offsides where Texas looked like Texas drew Vanderbilt offsides on defense. And they called them both on Texas on the other side. You're like, holy smokes. Then, of course, there's the phantom 2-point conversion that he still never got to the line. And there's a referee, a line judge 4 feet from the play that somehow said he crossed the plane. I still haven't seen that angle, y'all. I still never saw that angle either in live or in review. But so, yes, the Longhorns, I think, got outside of themselves a little bit, got caught up in the officiating, and then their defense blew some assignments. But I would like to focus more on the good.
Yeah. Because there was a lot of that.
Because when they were good, they were as good as any team we've seen in the country this year. When they were good for 3 quarters, they were as good as any, Indiana's win at Oregon, Indiana's win over Illinois, a top 10 team, Ohio State this year. There's no perfect team in college football this year. But what we saw from Texas for 3 quarters was why they were voted preseason number 1. That's the team. And if you wanted to know what would Arch Manning look like if he got protection, if he had both running backs there and his full complement of receivers, an offensive line that has been shuffled and moved to get the right 5 on the and then you can protect your quarterback, and then his receivers will consistently catch the ball.
Yeah,
that's what you saw from Arch Manning. And I would also say to Sark, a game plan. You know what that game plan reminded me of for the first 3 quarters was the Michigan game plan a year ago, and you were at both of those games. It was the Michigan game plan where they didn't want to mess with Vanderbilt on the interior and try to pound the run against a very good front. They knew they had the advantage in athleticism on the perimeters, much like they did against Michigan and Ann Arbor back in September of 2024. And that was a Quinn Ewers kind of offense where it was quick passes. Extension of your run game is getting the ball to Ryan Wingo on the edge, getting it to Emmett Mosley on the edge, getting it to DeAndre Moore on the edge, and letting your athleticism win one-on-one battles on the outside. Not
let your players make plays.
And over and over. And that got Arch into rhythm.
Yep.
And he was getting protection, great protection. The move of Cole Hudson from center to guard when he got healthy, leave Connor Robertson at center. Those guys played great. And then once you got them going side to side and testing their athleticism and Clark Lee's defense is at their wits' end, well, now you can start trying to pound the run game.
Right. And
they did with Trey Wisner and C.J. Baxter. And that's a formula that can win. And it's a formula that built a 34-10 lead. Let's also not leave out this defense, who for 3 quarters
played
were lights out. We entered the 4th quarter, and Diego Pavia's team, that's one of the highest scoring teams in the conference all year long. Diego Pavia's team had gained under 200 yards.
Yeah, 10 points.
The team that now leads the nation in sacks, Texas, sacked Diego Pavia 6 times all year long against SEC competition, including Alabama, including Missouri, including the home win with LSU. He had been sacked a total of 6 times. The Longhorns, or 7 times total. The Longhorns got him 6 times on Saturday. And
They were suffocating. He was trying to scramble out of these things.
Well, and the first play was to Colin Simmons coming free, whipping the tackle with an inside move, and not only getting the sack, but getting the strip sack, but not only getting the strip sack, but getting the fumble recovery.
Right.
And Longhorns had to settle for a field goal there. That was their worst offensive possession of the half. But look, I mean, let's just that defense was suffocating on a very good offense and a tough offense to deal with after back-to-back weeks of playing 90 snaps in overtime games at Kentucky and Mississippi State and coming off the Oklahoma game. That defense needs a bye week. And the fact that maybe they ran out of gas a little bit in the fourth quarter when you go to a prevent and you blow some coverages, I'm not going to hold that against them. I think that's fixable. I think that's explainable to me. Plus the weird officiating, I think, got in everybody's head a little bit.
Yeah.
But let me just say this about Arch. If you wanted to see Arch in that offense, well, let's let you tell what he did. Coming off a concussion protocol, Arch Manning was nothing short of phenomenal. He led scoring drives of 75, 83, 68, and 93 yards. He completed 25 of his 33 passes. It's only 8 incompletions. 328 yards and 3 touchdowns. Longhorns went 7 of 13 on third down.
No turnovers.
They were 5 for 5 in the red zone. They didn't turn it over. They didn't give up a sack. They had one negative play the whole day.
Yeah.
Against a very, very good Vanderbilt team. So I give them credit. I'm going to focus more on the good than the bad and ugly of the fourth quarter because I think that's fair. Let's hear Sark in his immediate recap of this game. Longhorns 34, Vanderbilt 31.
The offense played really efficient football tonight or today. And that was going to be key against their style of offense, where they can minimize possessions. And so, just average yards per play on first down I thought was really effective for us. 7-11 on third down, no turnovers, no sacks, and really scored on our first 6 drives of the game, with our 7th drive resulting in a missed field goal, and then the 8th drive was one right there at the end. So when you just talk about efficiency in playing the game, I thought the offense did that. Defensively, we played well. You get 6 sacks, you get a turnover, you get 10 TFLs. It's just a little unfortunate. We gave up a couple of those plays late, but we'll get some of that rectified. We'll get that fixed, and we'll get some guys back healthy. We got a little banged up today. Wingo hurt his thumb. We were down a couple other receivers in the first half. Obviously Michael Taft wasn't able to go. We lost Jelani McDonald very early in the game. So that put Derek Williams and Xavier Filsamy in there, and then ultimately that had Jonah Williams out there. So guys stepped up, and that's what happens in November. But all in all, it was great coming back home.
All right, so nice win for Texas, all the issues. And again, I think a lot of the chatter I see is about what happened in the fourth quarter more than the first 3. I would like to focus on the first 3 because I think that's a team to talk about the efficiency, the preciseness of that offense. Think about every Monday we've come in here. They've been anything but that on offense. They've been explosive at times. And I guess against Oklahoma from the second quarter on, they were efficient and good on third down, but then bad in the red zone. This team was 5 for 5 in the red zone. This is the offense, and this is one thing Sark has said. It's not about how we are playing in September and October. If you can survive to November and start playing your best football, maybe that's where the Longhorns are as they head to the final bye week because everything's in front of them now.
Right. What I noticed, Tui, is when we talk about these wins, obviously this was the prettiest of them all, even though the end of the fourth quarter was not great. Some of the officiating definitely has to take part of that, but usually they're playing a quarter and a half, maybe 2 of good football. This was 3 full quarters of great football. I'll say that. Arch Manning, obviously, the stats speak for themselves. What we talked about in the pregame show is how bad they've been on third down and medium, and being 7 for 11, as he just mentioned, was crucial for them. That's something I noticed right away is they kept it going. They didn't make it, 3rd and 7. It was closer to 3rd and 3 or more manageable. But yeah, I mean, this is, again, that was 11th start for Arch Manning. Again, what he's done has been really impressive. What the offense has done has clicked. The O-line played really well. Yeah, the defense at the end there was banged up, but I was super impressed. I mean, being there in attendance, I think maybe some of the fans also were leaving in the fourth because they were kicking ass. I mean, it just was true. Does not make up for the 21 points to give up, but they played a great game. It can't get lost because you're right. People are going to automatically go, well, they almost lost it there in the fourth quarter. Yeah, but what we saw in the third quarter, in the second quarter, and the first quarter cannot get lost in this conversation because they played a hell of a game. They made Diego Pavia look pretty pedestrian for 3 quarters of football.
Yeah, then they put up 238 yards in the fourth quarter and 11 yards.
That's where
of play.
more than half his yards come from.
Yeah, and so the stat page looks better, but I guarantee if Diego Pavia would give it all back to have won that game.
Right,
That's why they were fighting back, because they know what that meant to their season. All right, let's listen to Arch Manning after the game. He was asked about the concussion protocol and the week he had. Arch is a pretty funny guy, pretty dry, but he sometimes can make some funnies.
I think just playing games, experience, having some bad games, and I think offense is starting to click a little bit. We got to continue to press and finish games, but I'm proud of the way we played today. Maybe the concussion helped.
Maybe the concussion helped knock some sense into me. Yeah, that's pretty funny. Arch is a funny guy, but there's the Longhorns. And here it is. This is, and I know we'll talk about the defense in the fourth quarter, and you can say I'm making excuses. I'm just calling it like I saw it. But during its current 4-game SEC win streak, Texas recorded 23 sacks, 37 tackles for loss.
Yeah, wow.
They produced at least 5 sacks in each of those 4 victories. Colin Simmons has 6.5. Anthony Hill has 4. Ethan Burke, who's playing great football, had 3. All had 3 or more sacks in a 4-game stretch, and Texas never had that. And again, Texas, go back to what I said about Georgia, who also, like Texas, have this, find a way to win mentality, which is a championship DNA that they have, and it's credit to Kirby Smart. But Texas is number 1 in the country in sacks. Georgia's 127th. Georgia's third to last in tackles for loss on defense. And their secondary ain't great.
No, it's not.
I mean, so the reason I'm saying that Georgia's gettable is that it's not this indomitable force that they've been. They're actually, by statistic and by eyeball, not very good on defense. And Texas just played their best offensive game. It's all kind of coming together into the bye week, which they go into the bye week with a lot of confidence to keep working on those things. Get Ryan Wingo healthy. And get a week off. Get your
Taft.
I'm talking about on offense, because that's what it's going to take to go into Georgia and win.
Because you can score on this
Because I feel
team.
good about the defense, even against Gunnar Stockton. This defense, give them a week off to get healthy and get fresher.
While Georgia goes to Starkville.
Yeah, Georgia's got to play a game this weekend. So on the road. So there's an opportunity there. And I'll just say this for Sark. I mean, as much as he takes heat, in the past 3 seasons now, we talk about they're building this DNA of finding ways to win. They're 32-7. They're 22-3 in conference play their last 3 years. They're 11-6 against top 25 teams. They have 5 wins over top 10 teams now, and at home they're 17-1. So if that's the last 3 seasons. So you put yourself with 3 to go. Can you go to Georgia? And some would say do the unthinkable, but that's actually a beatable team. They're actually if you go in with your winning mindset that you're going to win the fourth quarter, and that's kind of how they win, because look, they had to rally to beat Auburn, they had to rally to beat Tennessee, they had to rally to beat Florida on Saturday. And they rally. I'll give them credit, but man, they're not nearly as disruptive on defense as Texas and impactful on defense as Texas. And now Texas is finding some offense, and Texas put it together with an efficient offense and a plan that I think they can lean into that game. And if you win that game, you're 17-1 at home the last 3 years. You got your last 2 at home with Arkansas and A&M. Your goals are still right there in front of you. And I'm going to lean into the good on that from what I saw for 3 quarters versus the fourth quarter.